Do you build your interest and passions into your vacation? Well, today I'm talking to Megan Wessel of A Bookish Affair, how she incorporates her love of bookstores into her travels. Join us. Welcome to Roaming Yeti's Travel Beyond the Guidebook, where we help our busy fellow adventurers maximize their limited vacation time. I'm your host and head Yeti, Beth Scalacci. I'm here to share stories, hidden gems, and insider tips to help you plan trips that are unique and meaningful to you. In each episode, I delve into the world of pop culture destinations, theme parks, roadside attractions, and nostalgic locations. And you know what? We're uncovering their secrets and backstories. Are you ready? Let's roam. Welcome back. Today, I am excited to continue the discussion of how people incorporate their interests and passions into their travels. And I am honored to have Megan Wessel with me today to discuss what I'm going to call book tourism. Megan is a Maryland and DC based bookstagrammer. I knew I was going to butcher that. And recovering book blogger. So we'll have to get the story on that. She loves traveling, reading, and hanging out with her husband and two beautiful girls. I'm going to add beautiful because you didn't, but they are sweethearts. So Megan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
No, I sort of want to preface like the recovering book blogger. You're not so you're not blogging anymore. You're
No, no, it got to be too much. And I like reading too much to actually blog about it. So Instagram is pretty friendly for just still being involved with books and authors, but not having to do some of the long form reviews that I used to do.
and you've always loved books. Like where sort of and bookstores, like where did that love come from?
Really, my parents. My dad in particular always was really good about taking me to the library. He always said, readers are leaders. And I really took to that. And I love the escape that books can provide. Whether it's a physical book or ebook or audiobook, I'm into escaping and getting into a good story.
And so I called it book tourism, but tell me how you incorporate the love of books and bookstores into your travels.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I love about visiting particularly indie bookstores is they're automatically infused with the place that you find them. You're going to meet people who live in the community that you're visiting. You're going to be able to see community events that are going on. Um, they're charming and they're just a good way to sort of get out of a guidebook and into what makes a place so great.
That's a great point, and I never would have thought it that way until you explained that, but it's so true. Like they really are sort of that cornerstone of the community and what's going on in that community. Um, and you just finished, I know from watching on Instagram, you just finished a um, not a book tour, but bookstore tour basically.
Yeah,
And had you out and about for sure.
yeah, there was a bookstore tour where we're in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, and it was mostly throughout Virginia where 15 bookstores got together and designed a bookstore passport. And if you visited a certain tier of bookstores, you got different prizes. So if you visited 10 bookstores, you could be entered in the grand prize. Well, there were 15 bookstores. I love a checklist. And so I wanted to check everyone off. And we did that mostly with my family. It took us to some places that I had never been before: Orange, Virginia, Gordonsville, West Virginia. And that's another thing about being able to infuse things that you really like into your travels. It sort of opens doors and has a tendency to get you out into a lot of places that I never thought I'd visit before.
And that brings me to my next question. Like, so are you when you're looking at like your vacation or day trip or even or anything, um, are you seeking out a destination and then looking for the bookstore, or are you looking at a bookstore and choosing destination on that?
So usually it comes down to the location first.
Hmm.
And then, almost as soon as I decide on the location, I'm doing research into what bookstores are close by. Um, and just trying to make sure that I stop different places. So for spring break with my girls, we went to Texas this year, and we went to both the Dallas Fort Worth area and Austin. And if you're familiar with it, it's connected by a big old highway. And almost as soon as we determined that that's where we were going to go for spring break, I started doing my research, and we found a couple really great bookstores along the way.
So how many did you hit on that trip? Do you remember?
So we ended up hitting three, and two of them I knew about.
Okay.
One of them we happened to go to a place called I think the town is Colliesville, and we saw we saw a sign that said bookstore this way, and I said, great, we're going this way. And we found a great little bookstore called Talking Animals Book.
Oh,
um
cool.
their emblem is an owl, but it felt really serendipitous to find them. They have a really, really good selection.
That's so much fun. So like obviously you're researching some ahead of time. Are you, Google, or do you follow a lot of places on social media? Like how are you finding all these places?
Yeah, Google is still my best friend.
Hmm.
It just makes it so easy to find places that are right there. And then social media, especially for the book world, is just a really welcoming place. Lots of people who are very passionate about books, bookstores, and they're always really generous with talking about their different tips and locations. So that I feel like there are a couple bookstores that I've found through social media where I'm now like, oh, I have to visit them. Um, yeah, so I'm very equal opportunity when it comes to bookstore research.
Do you find Instagram is the best one for
Yeah,
most of the bookstores?
yeah, yeah. I think the visual media really
Hmm.
lends itself well to being able to see all of the things I love about bookstores, getting a good sense of place, seeing different events that come through the bookstores. And that can also help with trip planning too,
Mm.
because we've definitely made sure that we've hit different bookstores when certain events are going on.
Oh, that's a good point too, is I didn't even think about all the events going on to make sure you're hitting, the proper ones and things that are of interest. Um, have you had any, I mean, I don't want to leave people out, but like, do you have some favorites that you've visited in your travels?
Um, that is a struggle. Every bookstore is my favorite bookstore. Um, but some of the highlights for me have been places like Powell's Books and Portland, Oregon, Book People in Austin, and uh, a place called Lark and Owl that isn't too far away in Georgetown, Texas. Uh, Tattered Cover in Denver, Colorado. Most of my family's from the Colorado area, and that was probably one of the first indie bookstores that I've ever visited, and it's a real institution there. Um, Strand Bookstore in New York City is fantastic and wonderful. And then uh, Queen Books in Toronto, Canada was a relatively recent find. And that's another great store. And then I feel like I would be I guess missing out or having folks miss out if I didn't mention all of the different bookstores that we have right here in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. There's so many good bookstores here. You could do an entire episode on all of the bookstores just in this area. But some of my favorites here are Kramer Books, East City Books, and Politics and Prose, which are all downtown.
Okay.
And then Park Books and Backwater Books, which are in it's Severna Park for Park Books, and then Backwater is in Ellicott City,
Oh,
and they're
okay.
both lovely and amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we really are fortunate. The fact that there was 15 bookstores to do a passport in not, I mean, we're not talking a huge geographical space, so
Mm-mm.
we really do have a lot of great 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 resources. Have you had like a favorite event that you've attended at any of these?
That's hard. I don't get out to these events as much as I'd like to, especially having little kids, but um particularly when I lived in DC, we went to a couple events at Politics and Prose, and it just feels very special every single time that you go. And a lot of these bookstores have events that are free, which is amazing, especially, if you're trying to pare back cost on different trips or even, a staycation at home.
It's so true. And I know you listed a lot, and I feel like again, I'm asking you to like pick your favorite child. So, but I'm still gonna ask. Uh, like if you could recommend, say, a top five that people should, if they're in that city or they're in that area, that they should definitely add to their to visit list.
Yeah, that is incredibly hard. I think, if you're in Portland, Oregon, you definitely have to go to Powell's. I don't think I've ever been to a bigger bookstore. It is multiple floors of books, and their selection is impeccable. And any subject that you could think of, they're going to have a book for you. And it's a really special place. I also think Book People in Austin, Texas is really amazing. They have not only books, but a lot of book related gifts. So, bookish jewelry, uh, purses, socks, all of this amazing stuff that just celebrates the love of reading. And it's right downtown, which is really cool. And then I think Curious Iguana and Frederick. So,
Woo!
yep, they're amazing. And it just warms my heart having grown up in Frederick without an indie bookstore to see them thriving and just continuing to um be so successful and bring in a lot of really great authors. They've started a partnership with the local library, and they're just able to bring really good local authors, but also nationally known authors, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, especially given the size of it, but yeah, that they have they have really been a nice little addition to the downtown.
Mhm.
Not like they're new, but Marlene will kill me that I don't remember how long they've been in business right now, but
They they have to have hit, I don't even know, it has to be close to 10 years.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Um, Marlene will call me. I'll get a text. It'll be fine. All right, so that's three. Do you have two more you want to share?
So the other ones that come to mind are Strand Bookstore in New York City. It's just part of the quintessential New York City visit. It's a book lover's paradise. It's so big, and their selection is really amazing. And I that's someplace that I seek out every time we go to New York. And then I feel like I have to, call back to the hometown team and also mention politics and prose, which is just about, as much as a Washingtonian hallmark as you can get. Any political person, any nonfiction person, all of the big fiction names go through politics and prose. And they just do a really nice job with their events and their selection and just really being embedded in the community, which is cool.
Yeah, that's what I think is so cool about all these bookstores is that they are so community based and like you said in the beginning that they are the community center for a lot of the culture and stuff that goes on. So it's really cool. Do you have any like what are those dream shops that you just here they're on the vision board, but you haven't made it yet?
I both love and hate this question because now I'm just ready to put in more time for leave and go to all of these different places. So there is a place called, I think it's probably pronounced Cecil Court in London,
Mm.
and it's an entire street filled with different bookstores.
Oh, nice.
And wandering around for an afternoon, popping in and out of bookstores sounds like a dream. Um, so I would love to visit there. My understanding is all of the bookstores are different from each other, and you really can spend a day just seeing what each one has to offer.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, it's like your own little Diagon Alley for books, right?
Exactly.
That's cool. All right, so beyond that, I mean, I don't know, can anyone else like be better? Are there any other ones on your list?
So there is a another one that, again, I'm going to probably butcher this pronunciation, but it's in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it's called El Ateneo Grand Splendid, and it's a bookstore that's based in a theater.
Oh.
So picture the most grand velvet seat, velvet wall theater, and that's where this bookstore is. And all of the pictures look stunning.
Mm.
And yeah, I'd love to visit there.
Yeah, I'm like trying to picture it. It's almost hard to like just how grand that would look, I bet. Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking up pictures.
definitely have to. And where else are your travels taking you?
So there's also been a crop of they're romance bookstores. So they are bookstores that carry romances. I read very widely, but there is something very comforting about a happily ever after.
That's true.
And there is a bookstore owned by two sisters called The Ripped Bodice, which is a very fun name.
Yeah.
They have locations in Brooklyn and Los Angeles, and I would love to get there to visit them.
Cool. Let's see. That's not like you can book those travels. It's okay.
Exactly. They're all very attainable. So that seems like something I should do in pretty short order.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think those are good excuses to get the passport out and travel. Now, when you go to these bookstores, like do you journal about them? Like how do you keep track of, or how do you like sort of, or do you like, or you're just like, I went, I don't need to keep track of it.
Um, One of the things that I have started doing um is making sure that I buy a book or something from wherever whichever bookstore I visit. And what I like about that is I'm usually pretty against writing in my books. Just a funny proclivity I have. But for the books that I buy at these different locations, I'll make a little note and inside the pages as to where I got that particular book. And then as I'm looking at my shelves and admiring all of my books, I can pull those books off of the shelf and remember where they came from. So that's been one of the good things for that I like doing. And then also really Instagram.
Mhm.
So a lot of the bookstores that I go to, I'll take pictures, I'll write about the place. Of course, with social media, there is an audience, but it's also for me to remember where I've gone and to be able to think back on those places and have some really good memories about them.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. I love the book idea, and then putting, little notes in there about where it was from. I have to say, like, when when I scheduled this and I was thinking about it, I've really, and watching your, do the book passport, you really have inspired me. Like I was like, I like there's something I've been missing, and I'm like, I used to hit bakeries in every like place we went, and I stopped. I don't know why I stopped. And so I'm like, I need to do that again. Like I need to go back to like finding the best chocolate chip cookie or cupcake or whatever it is. Um, so I have you to thank, because that was like the thing I was like, oh, because we're starting to do little day trips, because you can't be traveling all over the place, and
Mm-hmm.
it's you go and you're like, well, what do I need to check out? Like, oh, what I'm gonna go get a bakery. I need something sweet. Um,
Yeah,
so
it kind of
thank
gives
you
you
for
a
that.
no, I'm that makes me happy. I think one of the things with bookstores or whatever you're interested in, it kind of gives you a side quest.
Yes.
So my best travel memories are a lot of the ones that I didn't plan.
Hmm.
It's the cute cafe that you stumbled into because it was pouring rain outside. It's, the street art that you happen to see because you got lost going back to the hotel. It's, there's all of these things that you can build into your travel, but some of the side quests are just the things that really make travel memorable. And
Hmm.
those are those are always the things that I think about. Tours are great and everything, but it's not, it can kind of lose a little bit of its, I guess, personalness.
Hmm.
Whereas these little side quests, finding the best cookie, finding the best bookstore, add a little bit of that personality back to your travel, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like it's like you said, like you go to these places and you're expected to do certain things, and I'm like, I like art, but I have a limit of how much someone can tell me about art before I can't listen anymore. Um, so if I'm like, no, let me go eat three croissants instead, and I'll let you know which one's better.
Exactly.
Like you said, the side quest is a little more fun for me, for sure. So but like I said, like it got me thinking. I'm like, I need to get back to those simple things again, and enjoying the side quest. I love that. The side quest is what it's about for sure. Um so I have a few questions that I did not send you. They're very easy, don't worry.
Okay.
But I find them important. Um, what is your favorite road trip snack?
Um, I love gummies, especially if they're super sour. That is that is a great road trip snack.
It is, it doesn't melt. It's good.
Exactly.
Easier to clean up from. Um, bucket list trip.
That is hard because there are it would probably be easier for me to name places I don't want to go than the places that I do.
Gotcha.
Um, I used in my previous job, I used to travel a lot. And it took me to some places that I never thought that I would go. So, places like Senegal or Lithuania, and they were both wonderful. And so, thinking of a bucket list trip is just very difficult. Um, it might have to be to hit up some of these bookstores I mentioned, maybe the beautiful theater one in Buenos Aires.
I think that's a great answer. Okay, last question. Who is on your travel playlist?
That is also very hard. Um, I love music. I'm definitely a mood listener. Um, but I would say there's something really nostalgic for me about listening to music from the 90s and the 80s. The music was so fun, and those are probably the two eras that I most love, especially when traveling.
It it the interesting thing about asking this question is that nostalgic music for whatever whatever nostalgic is for the person I'm interviewing is almost always the answer, which I just love.
Yeah, I think it's you want to have fun on a road trip. What's more fun than being a kid and not not having to deal with all the trappings of being an adult.
The break from adulting for sure.
Exactly.
Megan, this has been great. I so appreciate your time coming on, and like I said, I hope this inspires other people to sort of build in that passion and their interest into whatever trip they're doing, whether it's a day trip in their neighborhood or, around the world. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I want to thank Megan again so much for sharing her love of books and travel with us. You can find her at A Bookish Affair. Just search for A Bookish Affair on Instagram or Facebook. I will also include that in the show notes. So give her a follow. I love following her travels and her book suggestions. She's the best. So check her out, please. But I hope this episode inspires you to get out and explore, even in your own backyard. So follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you like what we're doing, please tell a friend, leave a rating, a review. It helps so much. I can't even tell you. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti and keep roaming.